Have you ever been going about your day, minding your own business, when suddenly out of nowhere, you feel it, that gentle tug on your heart, that sudden warmth in your spirit, almost like someone somewhere has you on their mind? My friend, what if I told you they really do? ChatGPT said God designed us for connection, but not just the kind that happens when we speak to someone across the table or sit next to them in church. He placed within us a spiritual wiring, a divine ability to reach beyond the limits of distance and touch the heart of another. From the very beginning in the Garden of Eden, God declared, "It is not good for man to be alone." He created us to live in communion not only with Him, but also with each other. And that connection is not limited to our physical senses. There is something deeper, almost invisible, that ties us together. Have you ever thought of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and just then they call you? Or have you felt a sudden, unexplained warmth in your heart, only to discover later that someone was thinking of you at that exact moment? These are not random happenings. They are glimpses into the spiritual fabric of human connection, a design far too intricate to be accidental. Think for a moment about how Jesus described His relationship with His followers. He said in John 10:27, "My sheep listen to my voice, I know them and they follow me." That isn't just about hearing Him audibly, it's about sensing His heart, being attuned to His spirit. If our connection with God can operate in such a quite unseen way, why would it surprise us that our connection with others can work similarly? God often communicates through our relationships. He can place a person on your heart without any logical reason, simply because He knows they need you, or you need them in that moment. Science may try to explain it as brain waves, emotional memory, or subconscious triggers, but in the life of faith we see it as a spiritual gift. You might call it discernment, intuition, or simply knowing in your knower, as some old preachers used to say. But whatever you call it, the source is the same, and it's part of God's design for how we love each other. You see, love is not bound by proximity. A mother feels when her child is hurt even if they're thousands of miles apart. A close friend senses your discouragement without you uttering a word. A spouse knows something is wrong just by the way you breathe. These connections are not taught, they are God-given. When we understand this truth, we begin to see our lives differently. Those moments when you suddenly think of a friend you haven't heard from in weeks are not interruptions to your day. They may be divine appointments. That gentle tug on your heart could be God's way of inviting you to pray, to send a message, to make a call. So often we brush those feelings aside, chalking them up to coincidence. But the more we walk closely with God, the more we realize that He wastes nothing, not even the smallest prompting in our spirit. Sometimes these connections show up when we most need encouragement. You might be walking through a season of loneliness, feeling as though you've been forgotten, when suddenly a memory of someone dear comes to mind. That moment can be a reminder that you are still in the heart of another. It's almost as if God leans in and whispers, "You are loved. You are not invisible." And if you've ever been on the other side of that moment, thinking of someone and then finding out your call or message was exactly what they needed, you know the joy it brings. It's a beautiful confirmation that God works in ways far beyond our understanding. We live in a world that often values loudness, constant communication, and visible proof. But God's design is quieter. He's deeper and infinitely more meaningful. He gave us the capacity to feel the presence of others without seeing them, to know they care without hearing the words. This isn't some mystical trick. It's part of the way He knit us together as human beings. We are not solitary souls wandering alone. We are threads in a great tapestry, connected in ways seen and unseen. So the next time you feel that unexplainable pull towards someone, don't dismiss it. Instead, pause and thank God for the connection. Pray for that person. Maybe reach out to them, because God may be using you in that moment as the very answer to their unspoken prayer. That's the beauty of the way He designed us. Our hearts are never as far apart as the miles might suggest. In His design, connection is just something we experience, it's something we are. And we learn to listen to those quiet, holy nudges. We participate in the beautiful work He is doing in the hearts of others, one unseen moment at a time. That what you're feeling is not just coincidence, but a connection. A real, unseen bridge between two hearts. Telepathic impressions rarely arrive like a thunderclap. More often, they are like the gentle brush of a breeze on your cheek, a subtle steering you could easily miss if you're not paying attention. We live in a noisy world. Notifications ping, conversations overlap, and our thoughts are constantly pulled in a dozen directions. And yet, when someone is truly thinking of you deeply, the impression they leave is often quiet, understated, and fleeting. It's not a grand announcement written in the sky. It's a small, almost imperceptible tug on your spirit. The way God speaks to our hearts is often the same, through a still small voice. As 1 Kings 19 reminds us, Elijah didn't hear God in the earthquake, wind, or fire, but in the gentle whisper. Human connection works much the same way. Perhaps you've experienced it. You're sitting in traffic or washing dishes, and suddenly your mind drifts to a specific person. There's no particular reason. You weren't looking at a photo or hearing a song that reminded you of them. They simply appeared in your thoughts as though someone quietly opened a door and let them in. Or maybe you're reading a book and a certain sentence makes you smile, not because it's especially clever, but because it feels like something that person would have said. These impressions are so delicate that, unless you're attentive, they can slip right past you. This is why stillness is so important in life. If we move too quickly, we miss the gentle ways love and connection tap us on the shoulder. In spiritual terms, this is discernment. Discernment doesn't only apply to understanding God's will or recognizing truth, it's also about learning to notice what matters in the lives of others. It's being tuned in enough to hear those faint signals that say, you are in someone's thoughts right now. When we slow down, we can feel them more clearly. Think about the way a parent senses a child's needs. A mother might wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason, only to check on her baby and find them restless. A father might have an urge to call his daughter during the day, and when he does, she confesses she was feeling down. These aren't accidents. They're subtle, spirit-woven threads of care. If you're not looking for them, they might seem like coincidences, but if you've experienced them often enough, you begin to realize there's something sacred in them. And sometimes, those impressions are not warm and joyful. They can carry a weight. You might suddenly feel a heaviness in your spirit, a sadness that doesn't belong to your own day. That could be the echo of what someone else is feeling in the moment they think of you. You may not know all the details, but you sense enough to pray, to send a message, to let them know they are not alone. It's the quiet nature of these impressions that makes them so easy to dismiss and so powerful when we choose to act on them. In our culture, we tend to celebrate the loud gestures, the surprise parties, the dramatic reunions, the bold declarations. Those are wonderful in their place. But some of the most meaningful human connections don't come with trumpets. They arrive like a whisper at the edge of your awareness. When someone is thinking of you deeply, they may never say it out loud, but the connection still travels silent and steady, like light moving across the sky, and you have the ability to notice it if you're willing to listen with your heart instead of just your ears. Jesus himself often ministered in this way. He didn't always call crowds or stage grand events. Sometimes he simply walked among people, noticing the unspoken needs, the quiet pains, the hidden joys. He stopped for the woman who touched his garment, not because she shouted his name, but because he felt the slightest shift in the flow of power from him to her. He perceived something invisible to the crowd, but clear to his heart. In a similar way, you and I can learn to recognize those small moments when someone's thoughts brush against our spirit. The truth is, these gentle impressions are not weak or secondary. They are often the purest form of connection. They require no fanfare, no performance, no proof. They simply are. And when you feel them, you're being given a gift that you matter to someone in a way words may never fully capture. You may not always be able to explain it. You may not have the evidence to prove it to anyone else, but you know it deep in your soul because you felt it, and that quiet knowing can sustain you on days when life feels loud and uncertain. So the next time you experience one of those gentle, unexplained moments, a smile without reason, a sudden thought of someone dear, don't brush it aside. Treasure it. Let it remind you that you live in a web of unseen connections woven by God himself, where love often travels in whispers instead of shouts. When you suddenly think of someone, when you sense their mood without them telling you, or when you just know something about their emotional state, it's tempting to dismiss it as nothing more than a strange coincidence. But in the eyes of faith, these moments are rarely random. They are often little gifts, God-given reminders that you matter to someone and they matter to you. We were created with an extraordinary ability to feel and perceive, not only through our senses, but through the quiet channels of the heart. In Romans 12:15, Paul tells us, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. That's more than an instruction. It's a reflection of how it wired us. We have the capacity to feel each other's joy and pain without ever exchanging a word. Think of how a mother can sense that her child is troubled, even when the child insists everything is fine. Or how a lifelong friend can call you at the exact moment you need encouragement, without knowing what you're going through. These are not accidents. They are the fruit of love and connection shaped by the hand of God. Love creates awareness, and awareness creates a sort of emotional radar. When someone is thinking of you deeply, their thoughts seem to ripple outward until they brush against your spirit, stirring feelings you can't quite explain. Sometimes this awareness comes with a sudden lift in your heart. You might be having a difficult day, feeling weary and unnoticed, when without warning you feel lighter. Almost as if someone just whispered a prayer over your life. You may not hear the prayer, but you feel the effect. Other times this awareness comes as a heaviness. You might feel a deep sense of longing, or even sadness that doesn't seem to belong to your own circumstances. In those moments you could be sharing in the emotional burden of someone who is thinking of you, even from far away. It's one of the mysteries of the human heart, that our emotions are not entirely our own. God often uses this kind of awareness to prompt us into action, that sudden urge to pray for someone. It may be because their thoughts and your spirit have met in a moment of divine intersection, that inexplicable feeling that you should send a kind word to a friend. It might be the very thing that will lift them from discouragement. This is why sensitivity to these moments is so important. If we chalk them up to mere coincidence, we risk missing opportunities to bless someone right when they need it most. This kind of emotional and spiritual awareness is not about being mystical for the sake of mystery. It's about love doing what love naturally does. Love notices, love senses, love reaches, and the deeper the bond, the stronger that awareness tends to be. A couple married for decades may seem to read each other's minds, not because they are psychic, but because years of shared life have trained them to notice even the subtlest changes in one another. A friend you've prayed with for years may know when you're discouraged without you having to say a word. These abilities are cultivated through closeness, trust, and care, but they are also part of the divine blueprint for how we are to live in relationship. Jesus modeled this perfectly. He didn't just respond to what people said, perceive what they felt. He knew when his disciples were afraid, even before they admitted it. He recognized when a crowd was hungry before anyone voiced their need. He even felt the faith of the woman who touched the hem of his garment before he saw her. That's not just a miracle story. It's a glimpse into how God wants us to live in awareness of each other. When someone is thinking of you deeply, their care often reaches you long before they speak to you. You might catch it in a passing thought, a fleeting warmth, or an unexplainable comfort in your soul. It's as if their love finds you in the quiet places of your heart. And when you feel that, you're not just experiencing human affection, you're witnessing the way God moves through people to encourage one another. So the next time you sense someone's mood without explanation, or feel that pull to think of them at an odd moment, pause. Pray for them, send them a message, let them know they are not alone. Because your awareness of their heart could be God's way of letting them know they are seen, they are valued, and they are loved. These moments are not accidents. They are whispers of heaven, carried on the unseen connection between two hearts. And when you honor them, you join God in his work of weaving people together through bonds that cannot be measured, only felt. When two people think of each other deeply, something beautiful and mysterious happens, without saying a word, without being in the same place, without even knowing the exact moment it occurs. An invisible exchange place. It is as though their thoughts travel across an unseen bridge, meeting in the middle to bring comfort, strength, and encouragement to one another. We often underestimate the power of mutual thought and shared awareness. We may think that encouragement only comes when we speak it, write it, or act upon it outwardly. But in truth, encouragement often begins in the quiet chambers of the heart, long before it ever shows up in words. There are times when you are thinking of someone and they at that very moment are thinking of you. You don't plan it, you don't schedule it, but it happens. You both might feel a sudden surge of warmth or peace, as if you've just been reminded that you're not facing life alone. These moments are more than pleasant coincidences. They are reminders that we are deeply connected beings. In Philippians 1:3, Paul writes, I thank my God every time I remember you. Notice the depth of that statement. Just remembering someone was enough to stir gratitude in his heart. And when gratitude rises for someone in your thoughts, that sense of love and care has a way of traveling to them. Sometimes this invisible thread works as a lifeline. You might be going through a season of awareness, your faith feeling, then your heart weighed down by burdens. And then, almost miraculously, you feel a quiet strength settle over you. You may not know why, but you feel steadier than you did an hour ago. It could be that somewhere, someone who loves you thought of you, prayed for you, and in that moment their care reached across the distance like a hand steadying your steps. In spiritual terms, this is intercession, standing in the gap for someone, lifting them to God, them even knowing it. And often the person on the receiving end feels it without being able to explain why. Mutual thinking has a way of reinforcing bonds that might otherwise feel fragile in the business of life. Days, weeks, even months may pass without a conversation, but the moment you reconnect, it's as though no time has passed at all. That's because the relationship has been quietly sustained in the heart, in the unspoken thoughts and prayers exchanged without physical presence. The invisible thread remains unbroken because it has been held by mutual care. This is one of the reasons certain friendships and relationships survive distance and time. They are nourished in the unseen spaces between hearts. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to think that only loud, obvious gestures matter. We celebrate public expressions of affection, grand acts of generosity, or dramatic reconciliations, but mutual thinking, quiet though it is, often carries a weight and depth that those public moments cannot match. It's in those silent exchanges that trust is strengthened, that hope is renewed, and that love proves itself to be more than a fleeting feeling. It's not always about what you say. Sometimes it's about what you carry in your heart for another person and how that heart space subtly touches theirs. Jesus understood this kind of connection perfectly. He prayed for his disciples long they fully understood what he was doing for them. He carried them in his heart, not just when he was physically with them, but in every moment of his mission. In John 17, his prayer shows that he had been thinking of them deeply and that his love was active in ways they could not yet see. That same principle applies to us today. When we hold someone in our heart, our thoughts for them become a form of quiet ministry, and when they do the same for us, the relationship becomes mutually life-giving. The truth is, when someone thinks of you and you think of them at the same time, it's not just a nice coincidence. It's a reflection of how God wired relationships to work. It's as though he allows your spirits to meet halfway to exchange a silent encouragement that says, I'm with you, you matter to me, you are not forgotten. And when those moments happen, it can give you the strength to keep going. So the next time someone comes to your mind, don't ignore it. Take a moment to pray for them, to speak a blessing over their life in your heart. And when you feel a sudden peace or joy for no reason, consider that perhaps someone is doing the same for you. Mutual thinking is one of God's quietest gifts, a hidden thread weaving hearts together across distance and time, a gentle reminder that even when no words are spoken, love still travels, and its impact is